R2. So now let's start with our system settings. Look at how many brand new system settings that you're going to get with GP 2018 R2. So there's a lot of issues with SmartList. As a prior accountant, I couldn't stand it when somebody would modify my SmartList versus saving as, so they have their own. Going back in the login and reconfigure my SmartList was a pain in the butt. So now you can actually have a unique password set for SmartList, and you can have new SmartList and shortcuts built in with your web client. Now, that's wonderful. But when you're actually in SmartList and you want to save it, you can actually just grant it to just you only can see it. So that's really going to eliminate people from seeing it or modifying and saving over it. So whichever one you prefer to use, whether it's a unique password or making sure just you can see it, definitely try that out. Now, it's been a while since GP has updated anything with Web Client. So now we're really excited to present all of the items that have been updated with Web Client to give your users much better access, efficiency, and control over their system. We also have additional sorting options. We have new features in our monthly batches between receivables, payables, and even inventory. I haven't seen these type of upgrades, especially for inventory, so that's great. We have vendor holds with much more visibility and screens. We've got more all-in-one views. We have additional sales and purchasing features that we will go over. We have business analyzer restrictions from other users. We can now print in functional currency for SOP invoices, and that's your sales order processing. Now, that's amazing because priorly with the printout, you would have to print out the invoice, go to a whole new window, and reprint it. So for those of you that actually run with multi-currency, you're going to love that feature. We have more abilities to post through to the GL in this upgrade. I love that because I can't stand at the end of the month reminding myself, hey, I need to do a series post in the financial module to kind of take care and making sure everything flows through, especially with inventory assemblies or using a WMS system. We have an upgraded historical inventory trial balance feature. We have doc attach upgrades. For those of you not using doc attach, I highly recommend it. It's going to remove a lot of things in your paper versions with your actual filing cabinets. And to me, that's great. If I can limit that, I'm all for it. We have new workflow upgrades. If you're not using workflows, start taking advantage of it. It really gives the managers a lot more control over how things are entered, so you're not doing massive modifies during the year, and especially come the new year when you want things cleaned up. We have printing and emailing sales orders at the same time. That's absolutely amazing because right before 2018 R2, you had to do one at a time. And we've got payroll upgrades. For those of you using payroll, you're definitely going to want to pay attention. Now, because payroll does not apply to everybody, I did make that our last slide. So this way, anybody that needs to hop off before the payroll upgrades can. Now, if you have questions, please ask them while we're going through everything, because there's a lot that we're going to cover. So don't hesitate to ask the question and go through anything that you need to. Now, before I actually start, I really want to stress that in our webinar today, we do have the handouts which cover all of these screenshots and the full PowerPoint presentation. This way, if you really want to start thinking about upgrading, you have a tangible item that you can write over or sit there and say, wow, I didn't know we could do this. So now again, smart lists. We've got new smart lists that they're giving to us out of the box. This is really helpful because I am an avid smart list user. I love it. It gives me a bit capability. And there's things, if you're not using Smart List Builder, that, hey, you can't get or grab. So to me, they're super important. Now, especially within our sales transactions, we have a new smart list for deposits on unposted sales transactions. This is going to let you know, hey, I've got deposits on these orders. This way you can reconcile and get some more financial data to back up your financials. Again, we also have a shortcut to web client, and they will need permissions to have this, but it is a great feature. So then your web client users can have access to smart lists, run reports. I love to use it in an inquiry mode for the fact that how many times in the purchasing module do you really remember the full document number? That can be a little daunting and a little troublesome. So I always use the smart list, and I'll use that contains feature within the search engine. And that will actually let you sit there and just put part of the invoice in. A just quick way to make you a little bit more efficient. Now, here's some of the web client upgrades. We now have the autocomplete feature that if you are a regular user in GP, when you're typing in, say, a vendor ID and you start with it, you see the drop-down box to give you, that's autocomplete. So now web client users can use that functionality. We do have one-click navigations now within the web client, which again, this is going to help eliminate having them to go to someone that's using GP standalone and get those one-click navigations. And that navigations is right here on the left side of your pane. Now, I don't know about you, but especially for new users, they have to sit there when they go into a window and they can click that help icon. This is just going to help give them more information as to what's really needed in that window. Now we've got that capability in web client. We also have the ability in web client to maximize the bank rec window. So it really replicates what you're looking in the GP standalone users. Monthly batches. Now we can remove headaches and annoyances that occur multiple times a year. So in our monthly batch, let's say that we've got the invoice posting to the 13th, the 15th. No, now we've got a posting date that can end automatically at the end of the month. So even though our frequency is set to monthly, bi-weekly, it doesn't matter what you have. Now you can just sit there and say, I want to post it for the entire month, basically using the last day of the month. Really does give you a little bit more insight on the GL, how it's hitting the GL, and when you're looking up in SmartList, the actual date it posted. Vendor holds. Now, we always saw this with customer holds, but we've never, ever seen it with vendor holds. Microsoft actually did this based on so many users submitting, I wish that GP could do that and GP could do this. Always send in those cards because you know what? They do listen. So now we've got the option for vendor holds right here. And you can see it all over the place. As you can see, this is showing the vendor inquiry. And I love that because when you're doing an inquiry, you really want to see what's going on. So now you can do it on cards, and you'll see this in the transactions for the vendors. So people kind of know, hey, I'm entering in a transaction, but the vendor's on hold. So the batch isn't going to, the batch won't post. That's a great help right there to help monitor what's posting and what's not posting. Now, I know it says on the prior slide, purchasing all in one view, but I wanted to make sure you had some great screenshots in order to see the vendor in all one view. We weren't able to see this before, and they did enhance it to multiple different types between payments, credit documents, invoices, purchase orders, and the receipts. That's super helpful when you're trying to sit there and note, hey, what's paid but not invoice? What did we receive and not invoice? What did we pay on those? So this way it gives you a little bit more information. Plus now you've got the receipt number. And of course, anything with GP, when you see those hyperlinks, it's going to pull up that window for you. So now in sales and purchasing, just a nice overview. We can actually print requisitions. I'm a little bit on the fence about that. If you're using requisitions, I really don't like people printing that out because they could always send it to the vendor. But there's a lot of instances where people want to see the requisitions before they sign it. And if you're not using workflow, you're going to want them to print that out so you can see it. One payment per invoice. So now if you've got vendors, whether they might be commission or really 1099 vendors, now you've got the option either in their vendor card or when you're in the check edit list or creating your batches, you have the option of checking off, hey, they need just one payment per invoice. Because, you know, vendors can be a little tricky and they want what they want. Payables check windows are now renamed to reflect alternate payment options. So now we've got an EFT, we've got a credit card, we've got, of course, our checks. But this gives us a lot more capability in identifying how we're going to pay the batch. Purchase orders. Now, I don't know about you. I hate when I'm opening up purchase orders and I'm getting the oldest on top. I want to see what's open first, so we're not scrolling down and trying to find, hey, this is really what I'm looking for. Now we can also print a single statement from the customer maintenance window. There might be times that you're on the phone with the customer and they're sitting there saying, hey, can you do me a favor and send me a statement? Well, instead of going to the statement window, restricting it by one customer, printing it out, having to do all of your functionality in that, now you can just go to their customer card and just, you have an option to just print the single statement. Now, display holds on sales order processing. If you've got a customer on hold, it'll give you a pop-up that is so easy to not see, to where if you're like me, your fingers are clicking before your brain is registering it. So now, just like that vendor card, we'll see a nice active function on it, and it'll say, hey, we have a hold on this, and it's going to give that red button, like stop, don't do anything. Business Analyzer. So a lot of people do use Business Analyzer, so I really did want to include this. So it's helpful with certain users and it makes their job easier only for the fact that you can see charts, you can see workflows on it, what's going on with the company. So the Business Analyzer menu on the home page and on the navigation list pages is just crazy in 2016 and prior versions. It's just all over everywhere. So it's really nice to have all of that information to bring it directly to the home page. We also have global settings on it to turn off this feature for companies not using it. So you won't get any pop-ups on your home screen or try to have it access the web, which again, those notifications just can be annoying after a while. And it allows individual users to turn it on. That's great because you don't want all users to see it. And before there was really no way. It was on there as, hey, everybody can see it. Now, not everybody can see it, and you can restrict their access. So now within our sales order processing batches, we can print and email all at the same time, whereas before we could only do one. So this gives you great capability in making sure, hey, you've got something tangible where you're printing it, and you can just straight up email it out. We also have it coming up on the navigation list, almost to where you can kind of have a shortcut right there instead of going into the batch. Now, again, in previous editions, it was just straight email or straight printing. Now, for those of you using multiple currency, you're going to love this because, again, before you had to print out the document, go to the navigation window, reprint it in the functional currency. Now you can just print it by whatever that customer's currency is automatically. Post through GL. We now have posting through GL on purchasing prepayments. Before, again, all of these go directly and sit in our financial module. Even if you have your posting set to all, these won't do it. It will uncheck it just for that one item. Assemblies, again, for anything you're doing in inventory, whether it's your transactions, your transfers, and your assemblies, those get stuck in your financial module under batches. So whether you're using a WMS system or not, it doesn't matter. It's going to go right through and clear out one headache for you. So now I did list out all available GL posting that wasn't available that now is. Look at that. That's super insane. I can't believe that we have these additional functions, and it's not just one or two. This is a ton of what you can do, including project accounting transactions. Payroll, we have those options as well. There's really a broad area of where to use it. Now, in our historical stock status, which some people, they always kind of name it HITB, historical invoice trial balance, whatever you call it, it doesn't matter. Now, you can exclude the items that have a zero quantity with just one check. Normally, when you go into it, it's automatically checked. People print it out and say, hey, crud, I forgot. I go back and uncheck it. So now that was always checked off, but now we also have an item with zero value. That's great, especially if you've got raw materials that are actually located as zero values. Whatever your needs and business process is, that's super helpful. Our doc attach upgrades. I love that they now gave us this in our master record windows and in additional windows. It was in employee records in 2016, but before that it wasn't available. Now it's all over the place. You get it everywhere. We can even get it in inquiry windows and transactional windows. This really does help kind of manage having to have a third-party system to where you need documents attached to it. This now gives you that capability. And here's all of the information on where it's going to go. It even goes so far down as to GL transaction entry. That I love, because how many times are you writing in the reference field and you only get so many characters? If you use the note fields, though, right on top of the reversing or regular posting entry, that's unlimited characters, and yes, that's helpful, but having something, whether it's signed, if you're SOX related, and you need some sort of tangible proof to say, hey, I made this, but I did not say. It's my job to know and approve it. So right now you're able to have that backup records. Now we also have it in fixed assets. That's amazing, because when you're actually creating the fixed assets, I love having the backup of how much it costs, not only just to know what the depreciation is. In all the inquiries, your employees, your I-9 forms, that's new. Being able to sit there and actually attach the I-9 form is phenomenal. So this way, again, it takes it out of your filing cabinet. Now here's all our updates to workflow. If you're not using workflow, you might want to give us an email or call us up and say, hey, how can we use this to manage our business better? So now you get reminder emails. We can copy the workflow setup, because if you've got a very, very in-depth workflow, such as, okay, we're going to start with a purchase order. If it's $500, this person can be the approver. If it's $1,000, it's going to that approver. And I mean, you can go all the way up as much as you need. Now we can copy it, kind of limit how much time we're spending on setting it up, or even if you're setting it up, how much time you're doing it. Now we've got reporting for workflow. We've never had this before 2018 even became a thing. It's just great to where I used to actually set up SmartList Builder, SmartList windows, so you can see what's actually going through workflow and how it's sitting. So right now we're able to sit there and go and grab the tool for workflow. We now have additional fields and restrictions for payable transactions. We can sit there and actually show what the vendor account is. We can restrict and change the user that would be responsible for approving based on that vendor account. We can now see in our emails the comments that were made, as well as the vendor class ID and payment priority. Those are things that approvers should completely be able to see and know, especially for the fact that, hey, we're getting these approval messages directly from the users, and we don't have to be logged into GP to see this. That's something that now really gives them the capability and assurance that the users that use workflow to submit are really doing the right things, especially when it comes to vendor class ID. That will roll down new accounts for that vendor. And what if those accounts are wrong? At that point, you're not changing it, and you're seeing it come your month-end reconciliation. We now have brand new messages for emails. This, I could go over for probably 20 minutes just to show you all of the brand new messages that we can get and the templates. New fields in it. So if you want to put in check totals or additional document amount information or what got applied to those, we now have that capability. We also have the capability of creating a workflow for chartered accounts. So I've always had people put in accounts, maybe the naming structure's off, but they're not actually using the correct posting type and the typical balance. So when you're actually trying to close your end of year, maybe they made a balance sheet account, a profit and loss account. That means that you have to go back in to GP, kick out all the users, and reopen that year, make the adjustments, and make sure it's all clean. So that one I really do like, and I recommend highly for anybody. For purchasing, receiving. Now, for the most part, warehouse is going to do the receiving, or you have somebody internal doing the receiving. It's always kind of nice to have that double check and verification right there. While we're always able to verify what's being fulfilled and have that verification step, we never had the verification on the receiving end. We can also do it in our sales transaction entry. What if people are putting in the wrong sales price? What if they're giving away way too much and too many discounts? That's going to eliminate that right there. We can also sit there and now see what the credit limits are. That's also going to a functional field as well to say, hey, if this customer has a credit limit of $500, maybe we need to have it go to another approver to double check this. Or it's so easy, and I'm not kidding, it is so easy to sit there and just put an unlimited credit limit. So now you can actually say, hey, no, this person does not have unlimited. They should have a structured credit limit. Oh, I must have put this in the wrong slide area. I apologize. So here's the workflow reports that you're going to get for reporting. We can see the historical report. We can filter by whatever the workflow type is to where you can see it, whether it's a vendor approval, a payables batch approval, whatever you're using. And you can see all the comments that they put on there. And I am a comment and note girl. I love to see as much information as possible. It limits what I get liability on. Again, hey, I didn't create this, I was told to do it type of method. I'm going to sit there and put as many comments as I can. You can see the actions as well. So it's not just in that window anymore to where you can see where the workflow is and who approved it and when. Now you can see where it's going to, especially if they delegate it. That's awesome. And again, you can see right here, multiple approval levels. So that's always wonderful, as well as the assigned user. So you know where it's sitting and whose desk it really is on. Here's our additional sorting methods. So now in our transaction inquiry by our document, we've only really had two, maybe three options to sort by, and it's really not what you want. So now we have by type, by document amount, which is great because, hey, we might just need to search on $1,000 transaction. We can also sit there and now say, hey, what's our amount remaining, and restrict by that. So that's wonderful to have, and that's in our inquiry by document, not our inquiry by vendor. In our payables transaction by document, again, we've got type, original amount, unapplied amount. Types are going to be credit memos, debit memos, transactional levels, and all of that information, that's new to us. And that's really going to help speed us up in terms of what we're looking for. And our bank reconciliation window. I've been complaining about this for years. I can't stand our bank reconciliation window to sit there and not give me the option to sort by what I'm looking for. And if I want to see the smallest amount to the largest amount or vice versa, I want to see that, not just date, not just, okay, are we going to look at deposits? Deposits aren't going to help you if they're increase adjustments or transfers. Those are always typically located at the bottom of the window. You're scrolling through it. And if you're a company that has to use a lot of deposits and different types of transactions, this is going to help make you a lot quicker in the bank reconciliation window. And if you don't already have electronic reconcile set up, I highly recommend come to us. We'll set it up. It's something that's going to be a heck of a lot more functional for you because you're not going to have to check off the boxes in that bank rec window. It's going to do it for you and take a task off for you come month end. And everybody in accounting, you've got enough to do month end. Anything the system is going to let to take on and do, hey, that's one thing off my plate. I'm not here till midnight, 2 a.m. working on my month end. Okay, so now here's our HR and payroll upgrades. So now we can actually roll down setup records, even if they're inactive. We can roll it down. We can roll down pay codes, deductions, benefits, and shift codes. Whereas before, we had to individually do this on the employee record. That's a super pain in the butt, especially if you've got a lot of employees. I can't sit there and imagine how many different employees we'd have to go in and put this through. Now, unless you come to us and say, hey, can you do this behind the scenes? Still, that's billable hours that we're billing you for, and we can do it. We've done it in the past for clients, but now this gives you more control to do it yourselves and take ownership of your GP. It's what you should be doing, and we want to make sure you're comfortable in any task you're running. We can also turn off garnishment reports in the posting setups. That can be very, very helpful because you don't always need to see it. You get the information elsewhere. Changing department codes. Very, very similar to how you would approach a vendor or customer class ID, to where it will automatically roll down the changes and it'll even hit the historical records. So if you've already posted things through and you're sitting there going, oh my gosh, I hit the wrong account. What's wrong with me? I've got to do a journal entry to change it. This will take care of it right for you. You won't have to even think of doing a journal entry manually, getting the approval for that, getting it posted. So now, okay, we've got new restrictions and we've got new abilities with health insurance plans to give us discounts on if our employees are non-smokers, if we have a gym membership. Now we can put that in there to show us which employees are actually costing a little bit more money versus other employees, because you actually may want to sit there and structure what your company is throwing in as a really nice benefit to knock down what the employees have to pay. So you might want to incentivize people with that, and it does help you track what you're spending so much better. So now that's the end of our slides. I really tried to incorporate everything new that you're going to get with 2018 and 2018 R2. Do we have anybody that's in the webinar that has any questions? Brandon, do you see anything in those comments or questions?
No, I do not.
Does everybody kind of see all of the new changes and feel like it's going to functionally work for you? Don't hesitate to raise your hands up because, there's definitely might be more things you're looking for. Or you can sit there and say, yeah, this is going to work and help me. All right. Really? No questions? All right. Well, you've got my information, you've got my email and how to get me through the office. Don't hesitate to email me with questions on anything you want to do or how it's going to work for your business. Will this interrupt that? How are we going to utilize this? And what do we need to set up? All right. Well, I guess we can stop the webinar. Brandon, do you have anything to add at all? I know this is our last webinar until the new year.
Yeah, that's right, it is. You know, just nothing to add on the webinar, but with everything year end, I hope everyone has a great holiday season. And if you have any questions as you're preparing for your new year with GP and what we can do to help, please don't hesitate to reach out to us.
And those people with payroll, don't hesitate to email us or ask us, hey, we need our year end updates. We need to do this. We need to close our payroll. How can we better utilize the system in order to complete this?
Absolutely. So, well, thanks so much, Erica.
You're welcome.
Great presentation. Obviously, there is a ton of new features in 2018 R2. So if you did see any that really piqued your interest, please contact us and we can certainly show you more. So I hope everyone has a great rest of your day. Thanks a lot. Bye.